Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
So, yesterday, the White House announced President Trump will visit the UK later this year. Donald Trump has spent the last few days building a budding bromance with French President Emmanuel Macron in Washington. More handshaking. But now Trump has scheduled his visit to the UK on, of all days, Friday the 13th of July, when he will have a working visit with Theresa May and, we're told, meet the Queen. However, the US president has been urged by some to avoid London altogether and instead visit Scotland. In a letter organised by the Conservative Bow Group, they have called it a shame that people are moving to prevent Donald Trump coming to the UK. The letter also suggests that because of recent terrorist attacks in London, the level of scrutiny required would place London at a standstill. And they put forward Scotland as a superior option to London, given the nature of the climate present in the capital. Well, one of the signatories of that letter is Drew Lickerman of Republicans Overseas Scotland and the Labour MP Stella Creasy, who joins us via webcam. Welcome to both of you. Stella, first of all, do you welcome Donald Trump coming to London? Or coming to the UK, I should say. That's what we're going to talk about, whether he comes to London.
Yeah, look, many of us have consistently called for him not to come because of his behaviour, because of what he represents. I think we recognise that he is coming. So the focus of the campaign that I'm involved in, the Top Trump's Target campaign, say, well, actually, what really matters here are the people who are going to feel very frightened, whose lives are being affected by the rhetoric that this man presents and promotes. So we're encouraging people, if they want to protest, to donate to the organisations working with those people here in our country, and also to wear bright pink, because we know President Trump sees crowds and thinks that everybody is supportive of him. So we'd like him to see crowds with people showing that they're standing with all the people that actually he hates. Right,
well, that's good to obviously put hands up to him to say what you're planning to do. Do you see Donald Trump as the enemy?
No, I see him representing a type of politics that I hope in Britain we reject soundly. We've seen already with the Windrush generation what happens when you allow political leadership to set out some citizens as second-class citizens and the damage that it does. You know, this is a man who has normalised, frankly, sexual harassment of women. This is a man who has demonised Muslims and refugees. This is a man who doesn't want transgender people to lay down their lives for his country by refusing to have them in his army. This is a man who promoted Britain first. Now,
right.
He's a man who apologised for that, but then has subsequently suggested that all Mexicans are rapists. And I'm a great believer in deeds, not words. If he's sorry about this kind of rhetoric and the damage and division that it does, I'd like to see him acting as if he is.
Right,
given that he hasn't. I
right,
think it's really important that British
OK, Stella, that is quite a charge sheet that Stella has levelled, perhaps unsurprisingly, at Donald Trump. You still think it's a good idea for him to come?
Yes, of course, I still think it's a great idea for Trump to come in. I think a lot of those charges are, to be frank, trumped up. I mean, let's look at the U.S. right now. There's no citizen being treated as a second-class citizen. Unemployment is lower than it's ever been, especially in minority communities. The Americans all over are succeeding under Trump. I mean, just look at how cities are doing. Their economies are going through the roof. The stock market's going through the roof. The U.S. economy is growing, and it's minority communities that are actually benefiting the most under his policies. Just look at the numbers and look at the unemployment rates.
Right, you're never going to agree when it comes to Donald Trump in terms of his record. What about him coming to London? Why shouldn't he come to the capital?
Oh, I think Trump should definitely come to London at some point. I think he's thick-skinned, and I don't think these protests will bother him, but he's planning a short trip, and I think the short trip, the nature of the trip, the timing of the trip, I think it just makes sense right now to visit his ancestral homeland of Scotland, have meetings in Scotland, and also to visit his businesses in Scotland, visit his golf courses in Scotland.
Right, that sounds like he is avoiding London because of the sort of thing that Stella Creasy is organising.
Yeah, well, we also I don't think America wants to see the City of London shut down. I mean, the City of London's already strapped on the amount of police officers with terrorism, with crime, and then when you have 2 million people out protesting, this will put the City of London on a standstill for the day. How much will it cost British taxpayers to have so much police, which there should be for protests, but we don't want to shut down the capital and effectively shut down the country for a day.
Right, you're going to effectively, Stella Creasy, with your protest, prevent Donald Trump, the President of the United States, coming to the capital of England.
listen, people will protest. We have free speech, as the Mayor of London, another person who the President has been rather rude about, has pointed out. Actually, what we're trying to do is make something positive come out of this visit, because you can hear that people are concerned about what President Trump represents. Look, being angry is a short-term thing. The solidarity that we could show with those people, I'm sorry, I don't accept these, but, you know, when I hear Mexicans being called rapists by Donald Trump, when we see, I say, sexual violence against women being dismissed, I don't think that people are doing well. But it's how we protest and how we make sure that we show it's women, it's the people that Donald Trump hates that we stand with.
All right, are you going to take your protest to Scotland? If Donald Trump goes to Scotland instead and bypasses London, will you go there with your protest?
I will certainly be wearing pink, and there's 14 different organisations, all with bright pink merchandise.
But you can't be bothered to leave the capital.
No, I can be bothered to go all sorts of places. My point is that I stand with those people who right now are dealing with the consequences of this divisive alt-right rhetoric within our country, because President Trump has encouraged it. And we see it here in this country too. We see it with the Windrush generation. Rather than just getting angry with Trump, I want to show that Britain is a different place, and that I'll wear bright pink and donate to those organisations, because that's the kind of country I want to live in.
I mean, this is Trump's fault, really. I mean, he's brought this on himself, and now he is going to, in a sense, be running scared, not come to the capital. What will that do to the special relationship?
Well, I think it looks bad on the special relationship, and I also think it looks bad on these protesters when you have this many people out. I mean, Bill and Hillary Clinton were in the UK earlier this year. I mean, look how they've treated women. Look how Bill and Hillary have treated women. I mean, it's quite frankly, it's ridiculous. Look how the Labour Party leadership has been treating anti-Semitism. None of these people are out there. I mean, there's a protest coming up this month, I think, against anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. I hope to see you there, and I hope to see other people there also. And I'm curious, if you're so into wearing this bright pink, why aren't you all out protesting how Bill and Hillary Clinton have treated women for generations?
Right. I mean, Stella Creasy, you know, he has a point in terms of the Labour Party at the moment.
Frankly, as somebody who's been a direct victim of anti-Semitism within the Labour Party, I'm not going to be taking any lectures from the Republican right. But what I am going to be doing is saying, look, free speech is an important part of British culture. We have a choice as a country. We can either just be angry, or we can actually say something positive and powerful about the kind of country we are. If President Trump was really serious about learning from having promoted organisations like Britain First, he wouldn't be coming here. He'd take a moment of reflection to think, why does he think that Mexicans are rapists? Why did he think that it was acceptable to treat women in that demeaning way? This is about the man himself, what he represents. Why is his organisations, his friends, they're funding organisations that attack women's rights around the world?
Right, should Jeremy Corbyn meet Donald Trump if he gets an invite?
Actually, I really hope that he does, because I hope that Jeremy would tell him exactly why the kind of views and the kind of politics that he has been promoting has no place in a modern world.
All right, well, is he going to invite Jeremy Corbyn to have a visit?
Well, it's tough. I can't be one to say on this, but I have no problem with Donald Trump meeting with any UK political leader, and I hope if he does, he brings his Jewish son-in-law, Jared Kushner, to meet with Jeremy Corbyn and Labour leadership as well.
Right. I mean, how's this going to play out, Steve?
I've still got this great image of Stella and this band of people in pink running around terminals across Britain.
Well,
I think
you won't have to wait much longer to see that.
I'd be very interested. I mean, Drew mentioned this figure of 2 million. I don't think there'll be anywhere near 2 million people protesting. I think it's great that Stella and people can protest. They've got that right. But I think he should come to London. I think, you know, forget the man for a second and what he said, and think this is the leader of our greatest ally, the country that's stood by us over Salisbury, Second World War, and look at Macron. The centrist leader, you know, the one that, say, a lot of pro-EU MPs love, see as the future. He has seen it to roll out the red carpet in Paris, to go to Washington, to have his dandruff wiped off his shoulder by the US president, all that sort of stuff.
He'll be delighted you mentioned that.
But we need to be there at the table. Look at North Korea and South Korea. They're talking. Why can't Theresa talk with Trump?
Right. I mean, isn't that the point? We've had this historic meeting between the leaders of North Korea and South Korea, and Trump will, no doubt, as you say, claim credit. Doesn't he deserve to come to the UK and come to London?
I'm all for Donald Trump coming to London, because he is the US president, US head of state. He represents not just himself and his ideology, but he represents a nation with which we have a relationship. Fine, I'm all for that. I'm also all very much for all of us making clear exactly how we feel about that. And I don't know what poor old Scotland has done to deserve the threat of having Donald and his dandruff visited on him.
And won't people protest there?
Exceptionally wet of Donald Trump not to come to London and not to engage with the way British people feel about him, to run away and hide. That would be ridiculous. ridiculous, needs to come here. Everybody needs to express their views in whatever way they feel appropriate, and that's how politics works.
And hasn't Emmanuel Macron sort of moved in there while this has all been going on and the government's been busy? The French president does seem to have...
We were sitting there writing our stories this week, and they're talking about our special relationship. You hit the keyboards going, what is our special relationship? Come on, you know. And I think that's the point. I think Macron's very canny. He's already talking about stealing our business over Brexit, and now he's muscling in on America. You know, this is the time to celebrate our relationship between Britain and America and to restore that in a way.
I don't think we need to, I mean, there's always this tension, you know, don't let the French get in first, don't let it ruin our sort of relationship with the US. And it seems that French public opinion is less antagonistic than British public opinion to him having that relationship with it. But I think we have to remember there will be a relationship with the US after Donald Trump has moved on. You know, Donald Trump is not going to be president. Please, Donald Trump is not going to be president forever. And that relationship has to endure, or that relationship has to exist around and beyond him. I think if there are protests, which I'll happily go on if he comes, I think we have to make very clear that Britain is not protesting against Americans and America.
All right.
That it is an issue with Trump.
Stella, just briefly before we let you and Drew go, do you believe in the special relationship still with the US and that, therefore, with Donald Trump?
Look, we've had a fantastic relationship with America. We'll always work strongly with America. But I think it's quite telling that it's, frankly, white men who don't seem to have a problem with the things that Donald Trump has been saying, and therefore don't understand why there is a concern about the kind of politics this particular man himself represents. I'm proud of the British tradition of free speech. I'm proud of people being able to express themselves. We're trying to offer with the Top Trump's Target campaign a constructive way of doing that, but it's up to the British people how they will speak up, I'm sure, for a different type of values, and that's why I'm proud to be British.
What sort of visit would it be?
I think it's going to be a fabulous visit, and I think we're going to see the special relationship improve, and I think we're going to see cultural ties, economic ties, military ties all increase.
All right, Drew and Stella, thank you very much.